share with the wider audience. If you just want to share with the panelists, then just select the panelists. If you have any questions, and we're having a question and answer session later today, then please put them in the Q&A chat box. That would help us make sure that we capture the questions. We'd also ask you to please mute your microphones for those who are not speaking, that's particularly the panelists. We also ask you to please put your name on your profile so that when you ask a question, we also know who is asking that question. This event here will be in English only, but we will record it so that everybody can have a chance to see it later on if they're not able to join today. If there are any technical issues that you have, if you can't hear what's being said or anything else, please write in the chat box just to the panelists, not to all the attendants, just to the panelists, and then somebody will assist you immediately. So, once again, thank you so much for joining us here today. We know that we have different time zones here. As you know, the host of the World Forestry Congress is in Korea. So it's the afternoon in Korea, it's the morning here in Rome, it's very early morning in Latin America as well. So thanks for joining us here today. I see we now have more than 100 participants, that's fantastic. So just a reminder to everybody again to mute your microphones, use the chat for general comments, use the chat for panelists if you have technical issues, and use the Q&A if you have any questions to the panelists here today. Let me just start by giving the floor to Hiroto Mitsugi, who is the Assistant Director General in FAO, who will give us some welcoming remarks. Hiroto, over to you, please.
Thank you, Mette, and thank you, Cheers. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So welcome to the preparation on the priority for the 15th World Forestry Congress webinars. Thank the participants for joining us, and welcomes in particular representative of the permanent missions and the head of forestry and the colleagues from the member state in the forestry administrations, and the members of collaborative partnership on forest and other organizations and the stakeholders groups, including the private sectors and the youth, members of advisory committees, and all who decided to join this event, which is meant to substitute opportunities which have been lost due to the cancellation of several international meetings. I would like to welcome Mr. Ko Ki-yeon, Secretary General of the Congress and the representative of the host government, and through him to thank the Republic of Korea for your leaderships on this Congress. And it is my pleasure to be here today with the representative of the host cities, Seoul. I thank Ms. Christine Farsi, Chair of the European Forestry Commissions, the Vice Chairs of the Committee on the Forestry of FAO. Thank you for your busy time today. And thanks the team of the World Forestry Congress at both Korean Forestry Services and FAO. All your hard work take us to this milestone 1 year before the Congress. World Forestry Congress has a long history, as you may know. Every time that the Congress discussed critical issues of forestry and recommended the way forward with world forestry and our actions on the ground. 15th World Forestry Congress is really unique, as it marks the last decade of our effort towards the 2030 agendas and SDGs, the global forestry goals of UN strategic program for forest. And it offers opportunities for making important steps toward realizing the Paris Agreement on climate change. And it will also coincide with the beginning of the post-2020s global biodiversity framework, and decade on ecosystem restorations. But the Congress also coincided with unique phenomenon, a health crisis not experienced by humanity since several decades. The world is emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic and aims to not only build back what has been destroyed by the pandemic, but to build back better. The challenges are far-reaching and complex. Farmers have lost their market, supply chains have been disrupted, consumer demand has plummeted. The just released State of the World Food Security and Nutrition 2020 by FAO, WFP, IFAD, WHO, and UNICEF. This report indicates that prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, almost 690 million people, or 8.9% of the global populations, were undernourished in 2019. If this trend continues, the number of undernourished people will exceed 840 million by 2030. Furthermore, preliminary projections based on that latest available global economic data suggest that COVID-19 pandemic may add an additional 83 to 132 million people to the undernourished in 2020s. From the latest summary report of the World Forestry Resource Assessment 2020 by FAO, we also know that while globally around 178 million hectares of the forest has been lost since 1990, the rate of that forest loss decreased substantially in the last decade due to the reduction in deforestation in some countries, plus increases in forest areas in others through afforestation and the natural expansion of forest. We also know that much of the forest lost has been due to unsustainable agricultural practice. In spite of all the progress made, we are not on the track to achieve many of SDGs or global forest goals. We haven't yet stopped deforestation and the loss of biodiversity, which causes to lead emerging infectious disease such as COVID-19 zoonotic disease. We cannot tackle climate change, food insecurities, loss of biodiversity, or deforestation as standalone issues. We need to look at issues in their complexities and search for integrated solutions. Meeting an increased global demand for food and fibers will require not only highly productive landscapes, but also integrated and inclusive management of these landscapes. How do we turn this challenge to the opportunities? Not only more need to be done, but we need to do things differently. We need transformational change. No sectors and no one single stakeholders alone can make this happen. All stakeholders, government, civil societies, private sectors, indigenous and local communities, family farmers and smallholders, women and youth should be included in this transformative decision-making process that must occur particularly in the post-COVID-19 recoveries. This time, I would like to call participation to World Forestry Congress from all stakeholders to discuss the way of transformation in forestry and agricultural sectors for realizing resilience against climate change and COVID-19 and of acceleration of action toward forestry-related SDG target. I very much welcomed private sector's participation to share their knowledge and idea for innovations and the picture of green COVID-19 recovery to building back a better world. So let all of us contribute substantially to building a green, healthy, and resilient futures with forest. In this spirit, I very much look forward to your input today and to seeing you all at 15th World Forestry Congress physically. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Hiroto, for outlining the real challenges that we are facing today, but also the opportunities that this Congress brings for us to really showcase how forests can help meet those challenges, be they on climate change, be they on loss of biodiversity, be they on building back better, to make sure that we can have a green, healthy, and resilient futures together. Now, it's my great pleasure to now introduce to you Mr. Ko Ki-young, who is the Secretary General of the World Forestry Congress. He's from the Korea Forest Service. He's going to outline a little bit to us in his opening remarks about how this Congress is going to help shape the future, how it's going to respond to those challenges and the opportunities that they bring. Mr. Ko, the floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the participants. Dear friends and colleagues, thank you for inviting me to be a part of today's webinar and to address such a distinguished group of decision makers, experts, colleagues, forest people, and fellow citizens. First, allow me to express my most profound appreciation to the World Forest Congress Secretariat in Rome and FAO for bringing us unwavering effort in regard to preparing 15th World Forest Congress, which will be held in Seoul next year. The Korea Forest Service launched the preparatory office for the Congress on March 9 this year at a separate building from the government complex in Daejeon, where the headquarters of KFS is currently located. The launch of the preparation office signals that KFS has started to make full-scale preparation for the Congress and will carry out tasks such as organizing a steering committee and a science and technology advisory group, and setting up the agenda of the Congress and publicizing the event through various media outlets. KFS Secretariat launched the official website on May 24th of this year, 1 year before the Congress will be held, as a symbolic way to celebrate, and it has been opened in Korean, English, French, Spanish as well. On the close collaboration with the Secretariat in Rome, we have selected themes and sub-themes, and you can see them all on our website. For a Flores Congress preparation, FAO and my office gather together via internet conference platform every 2 weeks. As the Congress is the world's largest forestry conference that you may know, we, the Secretariat, expect to attract a wide range of participants from government, international organizations, NGOs, CSOs, scientific bodies, and forestry society around 160 countries. Representatives from the agricultural sector, responsible entrepreneurs who are interested in response to climate change, and environmental and forestry organization are considered as our prominent audience as well. We, as the host countries, will share Korea's successful forestation model with the international communities and present a Korean-led for the forest vision by hosting this Congress. However, the World Health Organization on March 11 declared the COVID-19 pandemic. The world entered into an economic social crisis, and we all have a direct and indirect impact of the virus. Cities have been locked down. Social distancing has emerged as a rule among citizens. Face-to-face meetings have been cancelled, and non-facial meetings have been popularized by using network platform like this. Dear colleagues, today we will gather together here via this network platform called Zoom to sharing our ideas, suggestions, experience to better establish the World Forest Congress in 2021 and to set the goals to help build back better. Moreover, I believe that today's meeting has been a place to discuss the forest sectors play a pivotal role to address challenges from climate change and COVID-19. I hope this webinar will be a suitable venue to talk in details for the preparation of the Congress from the perspective as host countries. For example, general overview, programs, logistics, exhibition, study tours, and as the occasion to be elaborated from various views. Dear friend, let's put all our wisdom into the same place to fulfill our event more productive and efficient, where all the forestry people can gather together and freely exchange ideas and plans for a better life. Thank you for listening and for the time sharing with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ko. It's really impressive, all of the work that has been going on already, despite the problems that we've had with the pandemic. I really encourage you all to go and have a look at the website to see what's up there, how much work has already been going on sort of behind the scenes, if you will, to make sure that we can hold this Congress next year, come what may. I would now like to hand over to Ms. Christine Farsi. As you've heard from Hiroto Mitsuki, she is the chair of the Regional Forestry Commission for Europe. She's also the COFO vice chair and a member of the advisory committee for the World Forestry Congress. We asked Christine to talk a little bit about how she sees the contribution of this Congress to the global dialogue on forest and that unique opportunity that we have in 2021. Christine, the floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues. Throughout history, forests have played a significant role in human society. As you are well aware, about 1/3 of the global's land area is covered with forest. This forested area are surrounded by agricultural lands and human settlements. They contain important freshwater resources, protect coastal areas, offer resilience in dry land, provide goods and services, contribute to creating jobs, and play an important role in food security of the forest. The World Forestry Congress offers every 6 years to the global forest community at large a unique opportunity to meet, to think, to get inspired, to share, to debate, to discover new tools and methods, and to move forward. From Madrid, Dehradun, Buenos Aires to Seoul, in partnership with FAO, the Congress allowed the forest community to tackle global challenges, while also usefully landing in specific environmental, social, economic, and cultural context, and reaching its understanding of the relationships between forest and society. In that sense, the case of Korea will be quite inspiring, knowing its successful experience in restoring the forest cover in the country and its concrete implementation of social forestry, as for example, in forest therapy. Since its first edition in 1926 in Rome, the World Forestry Congress is indeed a unique platform for global dialogue on forest, constituting a major pillar in the development of international cooperation in forestry and in accompanying, framing, and even guiding the development of forestry worldwide, not only technically and methodologically, but also conceptually. Interestingly, the second Congress, held in 1936 in Budapest, suggested to create an international organization for forestry, the CIS, the Centre International de Sylviculture, which was established and operated in Berlin before the coming war shut it down. It was later dissolved and its functions and assets integrated within the newly created FAO. CIS was in a way the precursor of forestry. The first Congress held in Rome focused on technical concerns related to the preservation of timber resources, the further supply of commercial timber by way of plantation, and the establishment of the condition for a sustainable yield of timber production. The fifth edition in the 60s in Seattle addressed a new concept, multiple use of forest and associated lands, which is suggesting the management of the forest in a manner that, while conserving the basic land resource, will yield a high level of production of the 5 major uses: wood, water, forage, recreation, and wildlife, for the benefit of the greatest number of people in the long run. The following successful World Forestry Congresses were framed by the idea of rational use of forest resource in Paris in 1991, and later by the multifunctionality and sustainable forest management. Now the concept of sustainable use is emerging, and a new vision of sustainability framed by 2 dimensions, the planet's boundaries from one side, and the social foundation of well-being from the other. The World Forestry Congress offers also opportunity to highlight, take stock, and address threats to the forest and to the society, as in '85 in Mexico, where discussions focus in particular on the destruction of tropical forests, the shortage of fuel wood in arid and semi-arid zones, atmospheric pollution in highly industrialized country, forest fire, or in 97 in Antalya, where the discrepancy between the impressive progress in the development of concepts, tools, methods, and institutions, and the continued alarming rate of deforestation and forest degradation was emphasized. Both issues are, among others, still very topical today. Besides threats, the World Forestry Congress allows also obviously to address opportunities and ways to turn them into reality, as in particular to the topic of forest for people in '78 in Jakarta, or later in 2003 in Quebec City, with forest for people and forest for the planet as main areas of discussions. New global drivers, such as, for example, the rising urbanization of the world society, are opening new scopes, horizons, and opportunities. The successive editions of the World Forestry Congress also highlighted the rising complexity of forest issues from a governance point of view, and gave rise to repeated calls to foresters to go beyond their boundary, the boundary of their world. In '85 in Mexico, it was to look beyond their own resource. in 97 in Antalya to see forest as an important component of overall socio-economic development, or in Durban to reach better integration between sectors. Increasing fragmentation of forest policy at all levels and the complex relationships to energy, climate, biodiversity, water, cities, industry, rural development, circular bioeconomy, human health or tourism show how these issues still need innovative way of thinking to be better and more strategically managed. The World Forestry Congress is also a sounding board for those who need to make their voice heard. And I will personally never forget the call of youth in Durban. Indeed, a group of students strongly challenged the audience from the podium, saying in essence, we are the generation that will face climate crisis. Current education programs are not preparing us in the right way. We need new skills in communication, in negotiations. In fact, these calls move me deeply. And this allows me to recall the contribution of the World Forestry Congress in shaping, enriching, and renewing forest education, opening to new disciplines, new approaches, and new scopes. Ways of concretely implementing interdisciplinarity and valorize it in the career of researcher will be crucial for properly address future challenges. For sure, for being able to tackle the emerging issue, and I was only mentioning a few, the forest community had to progress in structuring and collecting data, in building information, and in sharing knowledge. Feed public debates with rigorous rational inputs and take informed decisions is indeed crucial. And thanks to advances in particular in information and communication technologies regularly shared during the congresses, progress had made meteoric since the third World Forestry Congress in 1949 in Helsinki, where a decision was taken to recommend the preparation of a forestry dictionary in the major languages of the world. And with this, I will conclude my intervention. Some components of today's dialogue on forest forces the forest community to go beyond rationality, offering the World Forestry Congress space for innovative pathways. Climate and environmental concerns are inducing a jump of forest very high in the political agenda, as shown, for example, by the pledges for planting trees, which are achieving impressive levels worldwide. At the same time, the many turbulences that humanity is going through, creating us uncertainty and a feeling of urgency, is exacerbating tension in the public debate around forest, the cradle of humanity, whose symbolic value is becoming central. This implies that besides scientific and economic ones, the ethical and symbolic dimensions should be given the place they deserve in the international dialogue on forest in all its dimensions. The World Forestry Congress undoubtedly has a great opportunity to show the way and guide the progress in such a direction. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Christine. That was a fascinating story of the World Forestry Congress going back to 1926, 36, and then 49. I encourage you all to also have a look at that at the website that we have to see what has been going on in the past, and clearly to see what impact the World Forestry Congresses have had over the years. They've had tremendous impact, as Christine was outlining. And of course, as this sounding board for new ideas, innovation from the young generation, from the private sector, from other stakeholders that we don't normally talk to. So the World Forestry Congress is a fantastic opportunity to get them all there to hear what they think the world should look like in terms of forest and forest sector, and how they can help with all the other issues and the challenges that we have. I like the fact that you stressed also the ethical and the symbolic nature of forest, and I'm sure we will hear much more about that in the World Forestry Congress next year, particularly now when we've had this pandemic where people have a newfound respect and love for nature. Simply because they have been locked in their houses for so long, going for a walk in the park or in the forest has really restored the energy, the sense of sanity, and so on. So I think we will see a lot of that to come as well. So thank you very much, Christine. What we'd now like to do is show you a short video that we will play on the Congress itself.
Music always embraces an era. It holds the time, space, and scenery of the city that we love.
Seoul is a truly special city. This trail is an old railroad track that, instead of being torn down, was completely reformed. The city has created a sense of ease and romance I had forgotten, and it surprises me every time I experience it.
You see? What another perfect reason to stay.
I moved to Seoul and now live and work here. I was very impressed with this culture that maintains original aspects while adding a new sense.
It's because empathy is what matters. People-centered values that prioritize the happiness of everyone are found across Seoul, where past traditions and the present coexist.
That warm feeling. Isn't that a great reason to live in Seoul?
I think Seoul is filled with more energy than any other city. Such energy becomes the possibilities of the future. Various attempts to connect individuals and businesses create new business opportunities, and it makes Seoul a city where creative investments are possible with advanced 5G technologies. Creative,
More dynamic,
more refreshing,
and more passionate city.
Seoul, a special city for you and me. I saw you.
Wasn't that a wonderful video of Seoul itself? A fantastic venue for this World Forestry Congress. I can attest to it. I was there in 2010 for the XV World Congress. It's a super place to have a congress. The facilities are there. I really hope that we will be able to come in person, but whether or not we will have to see. But certainly we have chosen a great place and some great partners to host this World Forestry Congress 2021. I'd now like to hand over to Peter Zocker, who's the Associate Secretary General of the Congress, and Simone Rose, who's the Program Officer, who will walk us through a little bit the program for the Congress itself. Peter, over to you.
Thank you very much, Bette. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, colleagues around the world. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. We very briefly would like to present you the program that awaits you in addition to what you have just seen on the video, because the preparations for the World Forestry Congress started indeed quite some time ago. Secretary General Ko mentioned in his introductory remarks that the program is already on the website for some weeks now, but in reality we started this discussion over a year ago, first through the meetings of the regional forestry commissions, where we sought for the opinion of the member countries in terms of their aspirations and proposals regarding the program of the World Forestry Congress. And then later on, we consulted extensively within the organization, the centralized offices of FAO and headquarters teams. And then with the first draft of the skeleton program, we tapped into the wisdom of our international partners, including the members of the Collaborative Partnership on Forest, which was kind enough to create a consultative group to support the preparations for the World Forestry Congress. And last but not least, we had the strong support, we are having the strong support of 24 excellent and renowned forest experts from around the world who have agreed to form an advisory committee supporting the work of the Secretariat. As a result of this consultation process, we were able to recommend a theme and 6 sub-themes for the Congress, which is going to be discussed and which is hopefully bringing us to better understanding all the challenges that the introductory speakers have been referring to. And with this short introduction, I would invite my colleague Simone Rose to walk us through the program. Simone, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I will attempt now to share a presentation. I hope that everyone can see the screen. As Peter alluded to, we have worked well together with a wide range of colleagues to develop the program. The theme, as you will see on the screen, is building a green, healthy, and resilient future with forests. And we believe that this theme reflects the integral role that forests play in ensuring the health, the well-being, and the stability of not only our planet, but also of its people. We also believe that it is extremely timely, as you've just heard from previous speakers, because of the context in which we find ourselves in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it will give a unique opportunity to the global forestry community to discuss and consider the state and the future of world forestry in the context of the recovery from the pandemic, but also in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals as we proceed through the decade of action. The 6 sub-themes that Peter just mentioned include what we believe to be the most important current issues related to forests and the products and services they provide. While time doesn't permit me to go into great detail into the issues that will be covered by the sub-themes, I can indicate that sub-theme 1 will cover issues related to deforestation and forest degradation. Sub-theme 2 will address climate change adaptation and mitigation, as well as biodiversity conservation. Sub-theme 3 will look at financing, innovation, and the contribution of forests to economic development. Sub-theme 4 will address the importance of forests for human health and well-being, while sub-theme 5 will look at the collection, the management, and the effective communication of forest data and information. And finally, sub-theme 6 will attempt to look beyond the physical and policy boundaries of forests and forestry to foster partnerships and enhance cooperation across sectors for the improved management of forests and natural resources. It is our hope that the discussions under these 6 sub-themes will showcase the role of forests in the global developmental agenda and other major agreements such as the Global Forest Goals, as was mentioned before, the Paris Agreement, the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, and the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. It is our belief that these discussions will also identify key and innovative measures and recommendations that must be put in place to enhance the critical roles of the forest sector in addressing the global economic, social, and environmental development agendas. To foster dialogue under these sub-themes, the Secretariat is preparing a program that will comprise several different types of events and sessions. There will be plenary sessions with high-level and distinguished speakers, technical sessions which will form the backbone of the sub-theme discussions, special and side events which will focus on specific thematic areas but also provide an opportunity for the sharing of best practices and innovations, poster sessions, exhibitions, as well as pre- and post-Congress events. We hope that this program that we will put together will be dynamic, interactive, and technically innovative, and that it will stimulate concrete and action-oriented outcomes. Now, an important part of the program will be the voluntary contributions through papers, posters, videos, and also side events. And the calls for abstracts and side events has just been released online. For the call for abstracts, submissions must be made online through the submission platform. Abstracts may be submitted for papers, technical papers, posters, and following the success of the last Congress, also videos. Submissions may be made in English, French, or Spanish, and to ensure that they will contribute to the discussions, they should be relevant to the theme and one or more of the 6 sub-themes. The guidance and instructions on how to submit the abstracts can be found on the official website of the Congress under the program tab. Please do take into account the deadline for the submission of papers and posters, which is the 31st of August. The deadline for the submission of the videos is the 5th of October. Once the deadlines have been closed, there will be a review process, following which submitters will be notified, and the full papers and posters for accepted abstracts must be submitted by the 27th of November. The call for side events has also been issued and is now online. As with the abstracts, side events may be submitted in English, French, or Spanish, and must be relevant to the theme or one or more of the 6 sub-themes. As the Secretary General mentioned, we have some constraints due to the COVID-19 requirements. We'll hear more of this in the next presentations. And so there will be some restrictions on the use of space. So we are also inviting virtual side events or hybrid events, which could be a mix of physical and virtual formats. The full guidance and submission instructions are also available on the official website under the program tab. Please note the deadline for side events is the 31st of August. As with the abstracts, there will be a review process, and all submitters will be provided with information on acceptance or rejection of their side events by the 2nd of October. Now, we cannot do this alone. The Secretariat will work as hard as we possibly can to put together a dynamic program, but we do need the involvement of all of our stakeholders. We do encourage you to disseminate the calls for abstracts and side events as wide as you possibly can through your networks, to submit your abstracts and events as well to be part of the Congress program, to spread the word and encourage participation in the Congress itself as wide as possible. For the permanent representatives, this will be within your countries, the same for the heads of forests within your countries, through your networks, so that we can have as many people as possible participating in the Congress. And of course, we would be very happy to see you in Seoul. Please take note that registration will open in August of 2020, and early bird registration will close on the 30th of November. So you are encouraged to register as early as possible to take advantage of the reduced fees. All information can be found on the website. The URL is in the lower part of the screen. And we encourage you to visit the website regularly for updates on the progress of the preparations for the Congress. Should you have any comments, inputs, or suggestions related to the program, please do contact us, even whether these are general or related directly to abstracts or events. Please do contact us using the email addresses on the screen. Non-program inquiries can be made through the general Congress email address, which you see at the lower part of the screen. With that, Madam Moderator, I come to the end of the presentation. Thank you all for your attention, and I look forward to seeing you in Seoul.
Thank you so much to Peter and Simone. That was a fantastic presentation of what is to come. I'm hoping that you either will be very clear on what is going on and certainly make sure that you take note of the deadlines, but also that if you have any questions, just put them in the Q&A box, because we will have an opportunity to ask questions to all our panelists slightly later today. Before we do that, I'd like now to hand over to Mr. Hak-jin Kim, who is the Deputy Director of Korea Forest Service, and he will provide a little bit more information on host country preparations, on the dates for registration, again, some info on the exhibitions and study tours. So Mr. Hak-jin Kim, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Deputy Director of WFC, Hak-jin Kim. By taking this opportunity, it is my privilege to give this presentation to you. This presentation will be brief, but to attract colleagues to come to the next year Congress. Let me briefly introduce our logo and an official website as a host country. I will also give information including floor plan, place description, transportation, accommodation, and essential point to elaborate COVID-19 prevention guideline and how to participate. First, I would like to show the logo, which represents human with nature rooting, a traditional Korean symbol as taeguk, which describes balance in the universe. And we have launched the official website. Further information and key date will be announced through the website. Please note the address wfc2021korea.org. The venue for the Congress is COEX, located in the central part of Seoul, well stopped by a cluster of skyscrapers surrounded. It is comprised of 4 stories with 36,000 square meters of space. Space can be divided into 12 separate spaces, including a convention hall with space for up to 7,000 people accommodating at the same time. There will be 55 rooms equipped with state-of-the-art equipment. I would like to show brief floor plan. There are exhibition hall and information desk for participants on first floor. There will be VIP lounge and offices for KFS and FAO on second floor. Major event will be held on the third floor, including opening and closing ceremony. The fourth floor will be mainly for media center. I would like to show a visual concept for the stage during our event. This is visual concept for the backstage of the opening and closing ceremony in the grand volume. This is different kind of visual concept for backward of conference rooms. This is visual concept lounge, including cafeteria, internet lounge, and cultural center. Let me introduce transportation and accommodation near venue. This page shows you how to transfer from the airport to the venue. The easiest way is by using a limo. We have 2 international terminals, and you can easily find the bus stop in each terminal. 3 lines are running every 10 to 30 minutes every day, and it takes 75 to 90 minutes on average. And it depends on the traffic. In addition, we are considering free shuttle bus from the airport to the venue at specific date and time. If you want to use cabs, it is also available from the airport, the most comfortable but quite expensive. International taxi is in service, and it provides translation service. There is a wide range of accommodation available near the venue. Most of the hotels are located at walking distance or easily accessed by public transportation, bus or subway. You can make your own choice for business hotels from 2-star up to luxurious ones. And last, but very important to check is about COVID-19 prevention guidelines. Since the coronavirus outbreak from early this year, I think preventive measure on COVID-19 is essential point that we as a host country should be very cautious in sanitation. A full and robust epidemic prevention effort will be conducted during the Congress. I will show a short video for a sound understanding of how we are preparing in response to COVID-19 situation at the end of the presentation. We will decrease the seating capacity of conference room by considering a social distancing. We will also prepare an additional space to check the site on real-time basis via the webcasting system. A micro-sanitizing gateway will do facial recognition and take a temperature at the same time. And we'll sprinkle a disinfectant to the people who pass the entrance. This anti-disease control system will be deployed at every single point of access to the conference rooms. I would like to share the opportunity to participate in this event. All participants should be registered, and the registration process will be done via the homepage from this August. More detailed information can be checked on our official website soon. Every participant can freely apply exhibition booths, and we will locate a specific space for exhibitions. How to apply, process, and a fee will be soon unloaded. Tour program will be prepared to meet the diverse needs of participants. A day trip to DMG and Botanical Garden, night sightseeing program of hot spot around Seoul City, and 2 days and 1 night program will be offered. Please feel free to contact us for any kind of question that you may have. Here we provide emails of our secretary members. As I mentioned earlier, I would like to end this presentation by sharing a short video regarding the quarantine effort at the venue COEX. Thank you for sharing your valuable time.
Hello everyone, I am Yeju Kim and I work for COEX convention team. Today I'm going to show you how we at COEX Convention Center do K-quarantine. So here I am at Korea Landscape Garden Expo. This is the first exhibition taking place in the COEX after the COVID-19 outbreak. Thus we have made thorough provisions not only for the event itself, but also to create a safe and sterile environment. So today I'll take you behind the scenes to show how COEX is putting its K-quarantine policies to work. Under the current COVID-19 circumstances, COEX exhibitions follow at the 3-phase disease prevention manual. First, on the preparation stage, COEX ensures the following. Next, let's take a look at the disease prevention system while the event is going on. Our staff also take care of these issues inside the exhibition hall. Finally, let's take a look at the third phase, where companies dismantle their exhibitions once the event is over. So that was the 3-phase disease prevention manual COEX has put into place to combat COVID-19. But the most important countermeasure is consideration of all our visitors who take care of their own hygiene from the moment they arrive until departure. Your consideration is what makes a successful exhibition at COEX. As K-quarantine set the new standard for the global exhibition disease prevention protocols, COEX will strive to be the model convention center of K-MICE and promise to set an example in this post-COVID-19 era.
Thank you very much to Hakjin Kim, and thank you so much for the video as well, which I think is very reassuring to see how much is being done in the conference center before we actually have the Congress happening there. We will now open for some question and answers. There are some in the chat box already. If you have more, please put them in the one that's called Q&A. And I will start with one related to the video that we saw here. Simply asking, is there a contingency plan for the Congress, virtual or online, in case of continued global travel restrictions? I don't know if Peter will take this or Mr. Ko. Peter?
Thank you very much. If Mr. Ko is willing to take the lead, I'm happy to follow him.
Mr. Ko?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for the raising the question on the contingency plan. Yes, we have a plan to prepare the contingency plan in case of the continuing the pandemic situation. And now we have the professional event organizers, and we ordered the organizers to prepare the contingency plan or plan B, and the main part of the contingency plan will be a mixture of the physical and the online platform to present the Congress content. And as Mr. Hiroto said, we hope that for the full scale of the physical conference, but just in case, we are preparing. Thank you very much.
Great to hear. Now there's a related question to that, because we know that the situation will change and can change quite rapidly. So there's a question from one of the participants. What if I buy a ticket and plan to come? I register, I pay my registration fee, and then come May next year, there's a restriction either for traveling into Korea or for leaving my own countries. Will payments be refundable in that case? Mr. Ko, I think that one is for you too.
Yeah, definitely with the physical restraint for the registered that couldn't have a chance to attend, that definitely we will consider to have the chance to get the refund. But the detail will be provided from my side in due times.
Okay, very good. And just to remind to all participants, certainly also to take out an insurance for flights if they book those, to make sure that at least the flights can be paid back, because clearly that's not something that is funded by the organizers here. But there is a question, though, that is related to that too. Is there an opportunity for sponsorship for attending the Congress? And perhaps a little related to that, will there be opportunities to serve as volunteers during the conference? Mr. Ko, I'm afraid I'll have to call on you again. Sponsorship, if there is a possibility for sponsorship for some participants, particularly from developing countries, for example, and is there an opportunity for people to serve as volunteers and therefore perhaps not pay the registration fee?
Maybe the organizer as a host country can consider, but as a tradition, I would like to seek the comment from the Mr. Peter Soka.
Okay. Peter, over to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, this is a very pertinent question. There will be some sponsorship opportunities, thanks first and foremost to the generosity of the host government. We have limited demand for supporting travel for participants from the most eligible countries and regions. And then to what extent or to how many participants we will be able to provide the support will depend on the actual cost at the time of the travel, but please consider this as being relatively limited, unfortunately. Whether there will be an opportunity to serve as volunteers, this is something that has yet to be considered. Certainly there will be several volunteers, but normally the volunteers are provided by the host country, and we understand Korea is considering this, but whether we will be reaching out and trying to create a volunteer corps from other participants, that is something that we have yet to consider. This is not decided. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. There's also a question about the registration fee. How high is it? What is the discount for the early bird registration? And something a little bit related to the logistics. How many exhibitors do you think the venue can accommodate, given the COVID crisis? And will there be any cost charged for any exhibition? Don't know, Mr. Ko or Mr. Hatin Jin?
Yeah. For the registration fee, we have the various level of the registration fee for the participant. And I remember the standard level of the fee is about $700 US. And to the early bird, the registration will give that give the him or hers or groups. We will give the privilege with the discount. And for the other cost regarding the side event or other the event registered on the voluntary base, yeah, as a tradition, we'll request the certain amount of fee, but I think that the full scale of the fee and the related cost will be put on the online in August. Thank you very much.
All right, so encourage everybody to have a look on the website in August. You can see the registration fees and any other fees that may be applicable, and the reduction in fee for the early bird registration, which also opens in August. Then there was a question about if we could get a bit more information, perhaps from Simone, on the criteria used for selecting those posters, abstracts, side events in particular. Can you give a bit more guidance on what it is that those that are putting a submission in place should look for, or what the organizer is looking for when they take a selection of all the many that they will receive? Simone, maybe you want to take that one?
Sure, Meta, thank you. I did pass along the instructions, because on the website we have very detailed guidance regarding the criteria, as I mentioned in the presentation, the relevance to the theme of the Congress, relevance to at least one of the sub-themes as well. We will give priority to events that are organized by jointly with multiple organizations to encourage partnership. We will also be looking, simply because of the restrictions of space, to the virtual and hybrid events as well. But really the top criteria are the relevance of the events proposed for the thematic discussions at the Congress. And I would like just at this point maybe to say that if you just visit the website, under the program tab, there is a secondary tab called Side Event, and you click there, and there you will find all of the guidance related to the submission details, how to submit, and the criteria that will be used to assess the submissions.
Thank you so much, Simone. I actually have a question for Christine that ties in with her presentation, to look at what topics of sort of global relevance do you expect, and what do you want to see reflected in this World Forestry Congress?
Oh, this is a very large question. In fact, in my view, we have already the teams more or less selected. In my view, maybe it's more how to address them than the content itself. We should not only be speaking between foresters. We made this many times, maybe, and it was for sure useful. We saw it, but it also now in the time we are crossing through, it's important also to be able to speak outside our community.
Absolutely. All right. So there's a chance and a challenge to us all to make sure that we have many of the other stakeholders that we don't know to come to the Congress and to hear what we have to say. Now, there is one last question here. I understand that the 2015 World Forestry Congress included a high-level dialogue, and the participant would like to know if there's any proposal or consideration to host such an event at this World Forestry Congress. Peter, Simone? Peter.
Yes, thank you very much. This is an excellent question, and the answer is yes. We would like to have a high-level dialogue because, as it has been emphasized in the opening statements, this World Forestry Congress coincides with a number of great global efforts, including the UN decades, including the post-2020 biodiversity targets, etc. So we definitely would like to have a session attended by the highest level of leaders of professional and policy processes from all over the world to have a scene-setting discussion and putting the Congress into the context of this remarkable decade. We are also planning or considering another high-level event that may be on the ministerial level that is aimed at discussing finance-related issues in the forest sector. For now, these are the specifically high-level labeled plans, and we are hammering out the details as we go. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Now, Peter, since you have the floor, perhaps you want to stay there and tell us a little bit about the next step, the way forward.
Yes, thank you very much, Mette, and thank you all participants who put questions forward. What we would like to do from now on is really elaborating on the details of the program. As it has been mentioned a couple of times already, you see the theme and the sub-themes on the website, but certainly, as Christine mentioned, the most important question is how we would like to address those, and this is what we have started working on. We have an excellent lead team composed of experts from the Korea Forest Service and other Korean institutions, as well as here in FAO, and this work will be supported also by the advisory committee. In the coming weeks, we would like to present the details of all those sessions. Meanwhile, we are expecting the contributions, the voluntary contributions through the website in the form of abstracts for papers, posters, and videos, or event proposals, because we certainly believe that the collective wisdom of the global forest community is something that is needed to make the Congress a success. So once we have those, we will carefully evaluate them, and we will try to select the ones that are best placed to further the issues and the discussions during the Congress. The detailed deadline or the detailed time frame for the preparations, all preparations is also presented on the website. And then we certainly would like to continue the path established in Durban, because Durban, the last World Forestry Congress, has made very forward-looking decisions. Let me just recall here the 2050 vision, which is really a long-term and ambitious objective and target. We would like to see how far the world proceeded in implementing that vision. What are the approaches that need to be continued, that need to be pursued further, and then we can also look at what needs to be done differently, what innovations are needed, especially because the current situation with the pandemic that has been recalled in the discussion several times created an entirely new world compared to 2015, and this change certainly was not and could not be foreseen at that time. So we would like to address that as well. Again, I would like to encourage everybody to make contributions, to make recommendations for the Congress, prepare your papers, think about events and bring those proposals to the table and spread the word about the event, because we would like to reach to as many colleagues as possible in or with these calls. And then later, towards the end of the summer or more in the course of the fall, we will be in a position to present more detailed plans and more details on how the Congress is to be conducted. And unfortunately, we also have to continue working on alternative scenarios, because we don't know exactly how the pandemic will evolve. You've seen the excellent preparations by Korea, and then I'm sure that we will be completely safe there. But if God forbid the development of the pandemic is not as we all would like to see, then we will try to give a higher share to virtual events and combine physical and virtual events and come up with an alternative plan. This is something that we will have to develop later on. We are keeping our eyes on the coming IUCN World Conservation Congress, which is going to take place in January, and we would like to benefit from the experiences of the IUCN colleagues as well. So in a nutshell, these are the plans and these are our next steps on the way forward. We will continue sharing the information through the website. The first bulletin about the Congress will be issued in the coming days, and we will be reaching out to a relatively large audience with these news, just to keep everybody abreast of the developments and maintain continued interest in the Congress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Some closing remarks from you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Chair. Next year will be significant in terms of the climate change and the biodiversity. I think the next year is the first year after the finishing the so-called the IT target in terms of the biodiversity conservation. And in terms of the climate change, next year is expected the first year to be to implement the Paris agreement. Therefore, in our sub-theme 2, we are supposed to address the climate change and biodiversity. Therefore, it will be interesting. And in terms of the coronavirus pandemic, forestry communities has something to contribute to heal the people and heal the natures. Therefore, in sub-theme 4, forest and human health, we have the interesting the agenda to share, to deliver from the forestry perspective. Anyway, as a host countries, we'll do our best to prepare the upcoming Congress to be meaningful and to be successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. I want to thank the organizer of this event so much for all the work that they have put in place, not just for this event, but also, of course, for the preparation for the World Forestry Congress that's taking place next year. I want to thank all the participants for being with us this morning, this afternoon, this evening in many places, for the questions that you've had, the comments that you've sent in. I really hope that you would take this opportunity to have a look at the website, to see what's happening there. Make sure that you take note of the deadlines. We will share this whole event or the video of the event on the website itself, so you can go back and refresh your memory on the deadlines. They will also be available on the website itself. Make sure that you spread the news about the Congress, what it's all about, the opportunities that it presents, and make sure that you put in your submission for abstracts, for papers, for posters, for events for the Congress itself. Thank you so much for being with us today. If you have any more questions, as you can see, you can go on the website. The address is there in the chat box, and you can find some information there, or you can find some contacts for sending out more questions to the whole team that's working so hard in Korea, in Rome, actually throughout the world, because many of them are teleworking from other places during this pandemic, to make sure we have a fantastic 15th World Forestry Congress next year. So thank you very much for today, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye from here.